Hey everybody, it's Miss Williams and this is Quadratics Day 3, and today we're going to be covering factoring. So here's some fun facts. Mickey Mouse, remember, don't write these down. Mickey Mouse has a sister named Amelia Fieldmouse. The cheerleader effect is a scientifically proven theory that individual faces appear more attractive when presented in a group than when presented alone. And finally, something else fun and interesting to know is that it costs about 3 cents to make both the U.S. $1 bill and also a penny. So it costs more to make a penny than it's actually worth. Alright, today we're going to cover a couple I can statements that I can use factoring to solve quadratic equations, and I can relate the methods of solving quadratic equations. Alright, this is what we've done so far. Now these are actually the things that you will take a quiz over when you come into class tomorrow or the next time you have class. So apply the key characteristics of a graph to a real-world problem. Given a quadratic, can you graph using a t-chart? Solve quadratics by square rooting both sides and simplifying I. Alright, today we are going to solve the quadratic by factoring, and remember, solving the quadratic is just finding where it touches the x-axis, if it even touches it. So hopefully you'll remember solving by quadratics. Quadratics are usually written in the form ax squared plus bx plus c. Alright, so if I wanted to solve this equation by factoring, I can't use square root because there's an x squared and a squared. Alright, but we can try to factor it. So I'm going to look for two numbers. Let me go back. To factor, when the number in front of x squared is a 1, try to find two numbers that multiply to give you the constant and add to give you the coefficient of x. So in other words, I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to give me the last number and add to give me that middle number. Well, I know it has to be the same two numbers, so I know 2 times 4 is 8 and 2 plus 4 is 6. So that one works. And I'm going to factor it as x plus 2, x plus 4, still equal to 0. Alright. Now I'm going to take each of those and separate them and solve them. So x plus 2 equals 0 and x plus 4 equals 0. Add 2 to both sides. On the first equation, you get subtract 2 on both sides, you get x equals negative 2, and subtract 4 on both sides of the second equation, you get negative 4. Alright, let's try one more like that. If I have x squared minus 3x minus 10 equals 0, so the first thing I'm going to do is find two numbers, multiply to give me negative 10, and add to give me negative 3. Well, I know those two numbers are negative 5 and positive 2. So I'm going to factor it by saying x minus 5 and x plus 2. Set each one of those equal to 0 and solve. So x minus 5 equals 0, x plus 2 equals 0, add 5 to both sides on the left one, subtract 2 on both sides of the right one, and I end up with x equals 5 and x equals negative 2. Okay, well, what did we really just find? Well, look at the graph of your original equation. So I graphed it here, and as you can see, it goes through the x-axis at negative 2 and positive 5, which were the two answers that we found. Alright, so what happens if the number in front of x squared is not a 1? Then we are going to do the AC method. Alright, so we're going to manipulate the equation so that we make the a, the number in front of x squared, be a 1. So we're going to start with 2x squared plus 11x plus 12 equals 0. So I need to get rid of that 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the number 2 and multiply it by the 12. So x squared equals 11x plus 24. I got the 24 because 2 times 12 is 24. Now I can try to factor it. Two numbers that multiply to give me 24, and those same two numbers have to work in when I add to give me 11. Well, that is 8 and 3. So I'm going to factor it. X plus 8, x plus 3 equals 0. Alright, so I ran out of room on that screen. So this is the same problem continued. Here's what we've done so far. We took the 2, multiplied it by the 12, and got 24. We factored it, x plus 8, x plus 3. Alright, but everything in math is a balancing act, so if we multiplied in the beginning, we're going to have to divide at the end. Okay, and you divide by the same exact number that you multiplied with. So we multiplied by 2 in the beginning, so we're going to take the 8 and the 3, and we're going to divide both of them by 2. We're going to work the problem the same way. Sometimes you can simplify these fractions, sometimes you can't. If you want to leave them as fractions, that's fine. If you want to change them to mixed numbers, that's fine too. So, here we go. 8 divided by 2 is 4, so that really says x plus 4 is equal to 0. 3 divided by 2 is really 1.5. And then I solve both of them, so I get x equals negative 4 and x equals positive 1.5. negative 1.5. Alright, we're going to try one more, and then that will be it. So here's one more with the a not being a 1. So 6x squared plus x minus 15 equals 0. So I'm going to take the 6, multiply it by the 15. Okay, multiply the a and the number in the a spot times the number in the c spot. 6 times 15 gives me a negative 90, so it's still minus 90. Now I'm going to factor. So I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to give me negative 90 and add to give me positive 1. Well, I know those two numbers are positive 10 and negative 9. Now that I have factored them, I'm going to divide. This is not the end of the problem, but it's into the factoring. I'm going to divide by what I multiplied with in the beginning. So I multiplied by 6 in the beginning, so I'm going to divide by 6 in the end. Okay. Now I'm going to simplify and set equal to 1 equal to 0. So 10 over 6, you can change to a mixed number. You can change it to an improper fraction. I don't really care. It doesn't matter. But you should reduce it. So 10 over 6 is the same as 5 over 3. And 9 over 6, I can divide both those by 3, and I get 3 over 2. And then finally, I solve each one of them from 0. So I'm going to add 5/3 to one side, and I subtract 5/3 from both sides, and I get x equals negative 5/3, and add 2/3. Add 3/2 to both sides, and I get x equals 3/2. Alright? So we'll do some more examples of these after you take your quiz. Remember, quiz, next block, over everything, not this slideshow, but everything we've done previously. The card sort activity, the pictures that were, or the problems that were around the room. I gave you a review last time in class, so make sure you have that done.